Hey guys, Dan here for another Roseanne season review in the home stretch now. We've got season 7 on tap for today, so one more season after this one that's pretty good, and then the dreaded season 9, which I'm really not looking forward to rewatching, but for you guys I will. But here we are in season 7, so a slight decline from previous seasons, but still pretty good overall. So here's what's happening so far this season. So Roseanne herself is at the diner, or the Lanford Lunchbox, the diner she owns, with Jackie and Leon and Nancy. So, job-wise she's doing that, but she got pregnant, and so some plot lines this season revolve around her pregnancy and, at her age, what if something's wrong with the baby. There's some episodes that are pretty good there. Dan is still working the garage. Well, this is the first season so far where they both have steady employment the whole season. He's got the garage with Fred and Mark, and as well Bob, who is a supporting character that is sort of, we've seen him a little bit here and there, both at the garage and in their poker games at the Connor house. But he's a fun addition to the supporting cast. I like Bob. We never know too much about him. We know he's married. He says that. But he's, real dumb and just kind of, there for a good plot joke every so often. So that's Bob. What else? Okay, so that's Roseanne and Dan. Mark and Becky are also trying to get pregnant this season. They move out about a third of the way through the season to a trailer park. So there's some humor there. What else? So Darlene, Darlene and David break up after we realize that Darlene is also seeing this other guy, Jimmy, and David, puppy dog, doormat as he is okay with it until things get real heavy and he, decides, okay, well then you're a cold-hearted bitch, Darlene. And there's actually a couple of episodes there where Darlene is sort of wondering, if she is unlovable, and if she truly can't warm up to people, which actually, it's sort of, funny. It's like most things in Roseanne, it's taken a little humorously, but, it's a serious thing, that does happen, especially with people who are, very depressed and stuff like that, which Darlene, of course, was all through high school. So a lot of interesting stuff with that. But yeah, so Darlene and David, kind of broken up for most of the season. Jimmy comes into the picture. And so there's a couple episodes revolving around him. DJ, this is not a huge DJ season. Last season he had a couple more plot lines than this. There is one of the best episodes of the season does revolve around DJ, though, so we will get into that. But, mostly he's just being DJ, nothing too crazy. It's always good when, like, him and Darlene team up. There's, like, an episode where, Dan and Roseanne pit DJ against Darlene. They get him to trick her into getting less money from, as an allowance from Roseanne and Dan, and they're like, well, haha, we put DJ up to the whole thing. So that's a cute back and forth, but not really like a DJ-centric episode, but kind of a fun thing they do with him. What else? Well, Beverly is fully really a part of the cast here. She shows up a lot. And Jackie and Fred are married now. They married at the very end of last season, as they also had their baby at the end of last season. So we have, little Andy is a plot device in many episodes this season, including a great one with Beverly and Jackie. At the end of the season, Jackie and Fred decide to get divorced. So that is just this season. And then I don't know if we ever see Fred again. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I guess we'll find out when I rewatch season 8. So that's what's going on there. I think that's pretty much everybody. Leon and Nancy still doing their thing at the Lanford Lunchbox. We do have a little plot arc with the porn star Tracy Lords. At this point in her career, she was trying a lot of things. I actually have, I should have gotten it from my my cassette wall behind all these DVDs is my laundry room, and there's a bunch of cassettes in there. I have the Tracy Lords cassette tape, If I can find it, I'll bring it out for my season 8 review. But she shows up. So she, at this point in her career, she was trying to be a legitimate actress, moved from porn into real acting. So Roseanne gave her a shot, and then she also had tried her hand at the music career. Ironically, the episode that I watched of the Craig Kilborn show, it was when he was on like the late show. It wasn't when he was on the Daily Show, but I was in LA and with visiting a friend, and we went to see the Craig Kilborn show, and Tracy Lords was one of the guests, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, it's I have her awful cassette. Anyway, enough about Tracy Lords, but she does show up in a few episodes this season and has some funny moments. She's not that great of an actress, obviously, coming from the world of porn, but she is all right, and she has a few funny lines. But all right, let's move on to the episodes themselves. So like I said, this is a little bit of a downtick from the previous seasons. I would say worst season so far. It's the only season thus far without an A+. There are a few A's. I think there's 3 A's, but no A+, and there's definitely some poor episodes, on the lower end, certainly, of average, at the very least, in this season. So let's talk about those, I guess. There's 1 B-, 1 C+, and a C. So let's look at those 3 episodes. As you might imagine, if you've watched my season reviews of Roseanne, you know that I don't usually go in for the crazy, wacky, dream sequency type stuff. I like Roseanne for its relatability and it being so down to earth. So I think these episodes kind of reflect that. The B- episode is the season finale. It's called Sherwood Schwartz, A Loving Tribute. It is essentially where they become a Nielsen family, and so they start watching these highbrow shows on PBS to make people think they're not dumb hicks, but then in the garage on the TV that's not hooked up to the Nielsen box, they're watching like Beverly Hillbillies and stuff like that. So there's a big dream sequence with Gilligan's Island, and they are the cast of Gilligan's Island. It's kind of funny, and Laurie Metcalf does a great Gilligan, and of course John Goodman does an amazing Alan Hale Jr. as the skipper, so that's all great. Look, they picked good people for the cast, Darlene is Marianne, and Martin Mull was the millionaire, Thurston Howell. I love that they had Mark as the professor. That was very funny. So like there's a few laughs in the episode, but overall it's a throwaway, and for a season finale, it's just, I don't know. Like, there's so much going on in this season. It's just a shame to end on this kind of a note. I did like seeing the 4 surviving members of Gilligan's Island at the end in the credit sequence. That was really cool, especially because they were all portraying their counterparts from the episode. So you had Bob Denver coming in as Jackie, and Ginger as Roseanne. So they weren't playing themselves. So, look, that was fun. It was good. But the episode's a B-. It's just above average. It's, nothing to write home about. But of all the Dream Sequence Roseanne episodes, it probably is the best. Yeah, I'll give it that. So the C+ is Couch Potatoes. Okay, so I'm actually confusing those just because they're both not that great, and they're the last 2 episodes of the season. Couch Potatoes is actually where they're the Nielsen family. Sherwood Schwartz Loving Tribute, just a dream sequence episode, I guess. But yeah, Couch Potatoes is not a great episode. For a lot of the same reasons, I guess. I can see why these are the last 2 of the season. What a terrible way to end this season, honestly. The best part about this episode is the very serious nature of the end credit sequence with Jackie and Fred. They're eating in this, really awkward and horrible silence. You can just, sense the tension oozing out of the TV. And, they sort of make this very, very small talk. It's super forced, and look, we've all been there. We've all, had relationships that ended, and it goes sour. And it is that the end of that, is just like, it's so awkward, one or both of the people don't even want to be in the relationship anymore. So it's like, so I loved that part. It certainly isn't enough to save the episode. The rest of the episode stinks, but that does bump it up a little bit to a C+. So the C comes in with the clip show. It's called All About Rosie, parts 1 and 2. It's an hour-long episode. I don't like clip shows. I think they're lazy. I get that you want to put them out to remember all the highlights, but look, you know, listen, everybody did it. Friends did it. The Simpsons has done it several times. You know, Cosby, Family Ties. You know, this is an era for it. 80s and 90s sitcoms, they all pretty much did it. I don't know if Seinfeld did it. I don't know. Maybe that finale had a few, but yeah, it was definitely more story based. Most of the clip shows are just like nothing but clips, and then there's like a little bit of a thread of a storyline in between. Look, I understand. Roseanne was pregnant at the time. She was, you know, had to be on bed rest and stuff. So there was an episode that we'll talk about in a little bit where she wasn't in it at all, except for the end credit sequence, which was very funny. So I understand, you know, okay, let's do a clip show, fill out our contracts and produce an episode, but not make it a new episode. I do like the way they did it a little bit more than some. I will admit that, because they kind of did like some fast clips, and it was just more like, you know, set up joke, going from episode to episode, rather than, you know, some of these, you know, The Golden Girls is another example, where it's like they'll give you a full like minute and a half, 2-minute sequence from the episode, and it's like, all right, we've seen this, we saw it when it was originally on, we saw the rerun, and then we saw the syndicated episode 5 times already. So I don't like clip shows. It's an easy C for that one. I will say this, the intro of that too, I wrote this down too, showing the people from the various seasons. They were like, it wasn't quite morphing like the Michael Jackson black or white video, but it was like, you know, they cut together as it went around the table in the intro, you know, the different looks of the people, which they then later used, I guess it was in season 9, with changing the faces from, that was more of the Michael Jackson black or white style, where they would just change the face. So, you know, if it gave them the idea for that, that's cool, because I did like how they did that, but that was it. So those were the 3 worst for sure. So let's get to the 3 A's, and then we'll talk about maybe some in between. So Sleeper was the first A. This was actually the 4th episode in. The first couple episodes were good, but for season premieres, you know, we've definitely seen better. A lot of Darlene and David stuff with those, which I do love, but maybe not quite up to par with some of the other season premieres we've seen. So Sleeper gets an A. That is where David has a dream, and he's been hanging around a lot with Becky lately, so we think it's about Becky for like half the episode, and it turns out it is about Roseanne, and it's one of the great reveals of the entire series. It's right up there with you know, Beverly revealing that Martin Mull, Leon, is going to be buying her share of the diner. So that's, you know, and it's a great tag scene. Some of the tag scenes at the end with the credits are like, they're so out in left field, you know that it's just, you know, it's not real, it's a fantasy, whatever. But this one seemed completely real, very funny, where Beverly offers Dan sex, because we find out through the episode Dan had a dream about Bev years and years ago, when him and Roseanne were first dating. So that's a great episode. Maybe the funniest of the season, possibly. Bed and Board is my second A. This is the one where Roseanne is on bed rest. So what's really great about this episode is the exchange with Bev and Jackie about parenting, and how Bev is so good with Andy, and why couldn't she be that good with Jackie when she was young, and, you know, what was wrong with her. It's one of the great scenes with Jackie in the entire series. You know, it really hits those heartstrings well. But again, you know, there's no A+ this season. It's not quite up to par with some of the great episodes. You know, but it's definitely, for this season, it's probably my favorite. That exchange is so good. And there's definitely some humor there. You know, Roseanne kind of has people at her beck and call, and David finds out that she's faking it, so then David becomes, you know, kind of her preferred person, so he like no longer has to do chores or anything. So it's a funny episode overall. It's good. And then is there one other A? Maybe it was just the 2 A's. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one in the middle that I missed. White Men Can't Kiss. This is the one really where DJ gets a good juicy plot, and it's about him having to kiss a girl in the school play, and she is black, and so we sort of cull from that a lot of different opinions, and it's like, should we make him kiss a girl at all, because at his age he's never even kissed anybody, but if we don't make him kiss her, then we come off as racist, and is he a bigot? And is Dan, he has a poker game where he asks Chuck his opinion more than anybody else, and Chuck gets really angry about it. It's a great episode, and one that I referenced in last week's episode review, because the subject matter of the neighbors being of the Muslim faith comes up, and so we see a lot of callbacks to this episode, and one that I didn't even know. One of our fans on Facebook, or on Facebook as well, but on the YouTube channel, Mike, pointed this out to me, and shout out to Mike. He has been very supportive of all of these episode reviews and season reviews, and he actually had a couple of ideas for me for future Roseanne stuff after I'm done with the season, so a big shout out to him. But anyway, he pointed out to me that it was actually Gina in this episode, the black girl from the White Man Can't Kiss episode that we're talking about, is reintroduced in the new Roseanne season. It turns out her and DJ got married, and that is their kid together. That went over my head. I did not notice that, but that is such a cool Easter egg. I love all these people they're bringing back, that were in one episode or had a line, and they'll bring them back. Like Darlene's teacher, is in the pilot as one of her kids' teachers. I think it's Mark's teacher. I'm not sure. But anyway, so that was cool. But this is a great episode. It tackles a lot of themes, and Roseanne has tackled a lot of themes to this point, but racism was never really on the table. A lot of gay issues, a lot of abuse issues, but never infidelity. But certainly not to this point anyway. If they did touch on racism, so I love that they handled it great. It's a great episode. So what else? Oh, and that one, I will point out this. I wrote this down too. The outro on that, it's another one that, is like, it's really funny, but it's, that it's not really what's happening in the real world. But it's where Bev pretends that this high-pitched, annoying voice is all an affectation. And she shows the real her to Fred. Jackie goes to bed, and, Beverly takes off her hat, and she's like, oh, I didn't think I could put up with that annoying voice another minute, and she lights up a stogie. That's a great scene. That, I don't know, that might be an A+ episode. I can't really find too much wrong with it. So maybe that's an A+. I don't know. But it's pretty good. You know what? I'll give it just because there's no A+ this season, and this is probably really the best one of the season. The one with Bev and Jackie is great, and the hilarious sleeper one is also great. But this one I'll bump it up to an A+. Why not? All right, so there's that. So what else is going on? The Halloween episode, not one of my favorites. First of all, it's really dated now. It's a super gay Halloween episode where they pretend that Fred is gay. I don't take offense to it, as a gay man. I don't find that kind of stuff like super offensive, but it is interesting to watch it more than 20 years after the fact, because it is pretty dated. And it's interesting that for such open-minded people, that Dan really has some issues with gay people that we're still kind of seeing a little bit now in the new season with Mark's, wearing of the women's clothes and stuff. So I don't know. It's always interesting. But I mean, look, I love that Roseanne has always shown sort of both sides of everything. So so good on them. But yeah, the episode was just not that good. And very stupid ending. Even for a joke, the ending was dumb. It was her blowing up the house because everybody got one over on Roseanne. It was stupid. Snoop Davey Dave. That is where Dave is trying to convince Roseanne and Dan that Darlene, Jimmy's a bad influence on Darlene, and she's already tried, drugs, so she might do it again. And, she threatens to date a young Republican in this episode, which I think is hilarious. There's actually a couple references in this season specifically to, like, Democratic stuff, and now, of course, we know Roseanne, both on the show and in real life, is very Republican and, big Trump supporter. So that was kind of funny, just as an interesting note, that was one of the great, if I wanted to get you, I would date a young Republican. What else? Okay, so single married female gets an A-. It's a funny episode, but that's the one where Roseanne's not in the episode at all. And, again, like an episode from, I think it was season 3, maybe it was season 2, where she wasn't in it, I guess due to some, contract issues and whatnot. But they built the episode with the entire family, and her, being absent. They said she was visiting their aunt, the deaf aunt. But there was a great outro to this over the credits with Roseanne, explaining how how pregnancy works, how babies are made, and it's very funny talking about her. Well, you get a bodyguard or a chauffeur, and anyway, you can watch it. It's very funny. What else? Happy Trailers. That was a pretty good one too. That gets an A-. That's notable for Sharon Stone showing up as their neighbor. Like I said last week in my episode review about neighbors sort of being a permanent sort of plot device in Roseanne. From the various neighbors. But here we see a neighbor of Becky and Mark's, and it's Sharon Stone as White Trash. Sharon Stone, kind of actually a similar character to what Roseanne Barr played years later on My Name is Earl in the Trailer Park. I didn't think of that till right now, but that's true. And then, pretty funny ending to that too with Sharon Stone. But that is so highly rated because there is such a great talk at the end of that episode with Darlene and Roseanne about wanting better for your child than you had. And she just, Becky's taken such a hard road, and, they're sort of setting up Darlene and Becky's room for what the nursery will be. And it's sort of, it's very nostalgic and a really, really good heart-to-heart there at the end of that episode. So that's why that gets an A-. Birds and the Frozen Bees. Okay, that is notable because there are more pop culture references in that episode than I think any previous episode. Roseanne is very, timeless. There's not a ton of current and hip references. Sometimes with the video games, but really it's rare. But here there's a reference to the movie Nell, which even probably 3 years ago was like, what's Nell? I mean, it wasn't like a very, I guess it was popular at the time, maybe, but Jodie Foster and Liam Neeson, the drama where she grows up in the woods, and I never saw it. I guess she raised by wolves or something. I don't know, but she can't talk right because she wasn't raised by humans. It's just a rare. It's an odd thing for them to reference it, But other than that, they're all glued to the TV for the OJ trial, which is kind of funny because it's not so dated anymore because, of course, we had the People versus O.J. Simpson 2 years ago. So everything about O.J. is sort of new again. But the ending of that episode, it is dated, especially if you don't know who Marcia Clark is, if the whole O.J. trial thing hadn't been revived a few years ago. I think it would be lost on future generations. But her, Laurie Metcalf coming out of the TV at the end as Marcia Clark is so great. It's so funny. I like that they're letting her be silly as Jackie, but also silly doing bits. She does Gilligan in the one episode. She's doing, Marcia Clark in this episode. So I love that they're, letting her sort of spread those acting chops a little bit. But I do like this is kind of where Jackie isn't so crazy. But when Andy's born, she does get very intense, and there's some funny episodes from that. And I personally, I don't know. I think it's kind of realistic. I think, Jackie has failed at love her whole life. And so now she finally has this baby, and it's well, she knows the baby's not going to leave her, so she goes a little bit nutty, and I think it makes sense for the character, and I think she's very funny. I think it goes a little too far as we get maybe into seasons 8 and 9, but everything goes too far in season 9 as we know. But anyway, that's gonna do it on season 7. I give it a B+. I don't want to forget my grade like I did for season 6, but it's definitely starting to dwindle a little bit. Yes, okay, I did bump the DJ episode up to an A+, but other than that, only 2 A's, mostly B+. There's more B+ in the season than anything, so it makes sense that when I averaged the grades, they were B+. So, still very watchable, very funny, and I think season 8, still has a few really, really good ones. But if I remember right, it's, season 8's when they go to Disney World because ABC got bought by Disney, and it's like, it's not their fault. I'm sure they were forced to do a Disney episode, but it's like, I just remember hating that episode, and there's probably a few other ones. But there's some good things to look forward to. Darlene and David, have their baby and get married and stuff. So, we'll go over that next time. But that'll do it for season 7 of Roseanne. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Join us on Facebook as well. And please comment below. I love hearing from you guys. And these Roseanne videos have garnered by far the most comments I've ever had. Probably combined. There's like over 300 videos that I've put up, but these Roseanne ones really get people talking, and I love that. So please comment and tell me what you think, even if you disagree. I also love hearing varying opinions because, that's just my personal thought. It's my opinion. If you don't agree, I would love to hear why. So, all right, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.